Just ahead, our town coming to our town, first capital of Ohio. We'll tell you more in just a moment, but first, this. Proud to have Evan Shaw with us, 14-time Emmy Award winner. Have you had any more thrown in there as well?
No, 14 was the last one. It's sitting behind me over there. So yeah, just 14 right now.
He is a documentarian, a producer, and shoots a lot of video, and much of it is about Ohio. And I tell you, the Our Town series has been very well received. It tells a lot about Appalachia, Ohio, and Chillicothe is your next object and subject, so to speak.
It is. We every year here at WOUB, we pick a different city in Southern Ohio and we tell its story and tell its history. And when I say we tell its history, we usually start a long time ago, 300,000 years ago, when the glaciers moved down. We talk about how they shaped our geography and geology, and then move into the Native Americans and the European settlers and famous people and events and industries. And we've done 7 of these so far. We just wrapped up Gallipolis, and now we're coming to Chillicothe. And I'm really excited about it. My biggest concern, though, is how to fit Chillicothe history into an hour-long film. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do that, but we've got our work cut out for us for sure.
Absolutely. So much has happened here that has made Ohio. And as we were talking before we started recording here, really, if not for Appalachia, Ohio wouldn't be what Ohio is today.
Exactly. A good friend of mine, Tom O'Grady at the Southeast Ohio History Center, always says, Southeastern Ohio, Southern Ohio, this is where Ohio began. And he's right. The very first settlement is Marietta, when Rufus Putnam brought those 2 boats down and landed at Marietta. And then from there, beyond just the settlement, the things that the people of Southern Ohio contributed to the state are countless. Without our ancestors, spending their lives underground, mining coal, creating bricks, the rest of the state would not be what it is today. Columbus didn't have coal, and they needed our coal. They needed our people to go in there and get that for them. And that's one of the things I love about this film and this series, is that not only do we teach some history and we get to learn some fun things, but it also, I hope, can instill some pride in who we are and where we come from and how special this region really is.
I can't tell you how many times over the years that I've been here where some folks from Chillicothe have never been to see the outdoor drama Tecumseh. They haven't been to Adena Mansion and Gardens to see really the history that is restored there. But you take it beyond that level. You open up stories to locals that haven't heard those inside stories.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really try to do. Every film, we're obviously going to speak about, the great leaders of the area, Tecumseh, Thomas Worthington, Tiffin, Carrie Trimble, people like that. But what I love is finding those hidden stories that folks, even some people who've worked in local history, may not have heard of. So every year I try to find at least 1 or 2 stories that nobody knows in the area. And that's not me. The stories are there. I just get lucky and find them in the right places and then tell them. Last year in Gallipolis, we found the story of a gentleman named A.R. Harding, who was a newspaper publisher, but he also published one of the first hunting and fishing magazines and trapping magazines in the country back in 1905, 1903. And that magazine went on to become Fur, Fish, and Game, which became one of the biggest hunting magazines in the country. And it's still in publication today. That magazine started in Gallipolis. Those are the kinds of stories that I like to find, to tell people that even those who may spend their lives in local history, there's so much here that it's easy to miss little things like that.
Yeah. And even more than 100 years ago, we're looking at the likes of Billy Ireland, who, if you picked up the Columbus Dispatch, here you're seeing one of the hometown kids doing this fantastic political editorial photo. And well, not really photo, but a picture. Right. But to go to Ohio State and walk up there and see a library named after him,
right?
It's incredible.
speaking of Ohio State, in Jackson, a gentleman named, his name just escaped me, Frank Clement, wrote the Ohio State fight song.
Yeah.
And he wrote, drive on down the field. I'm not going to sing any more than that, but he's from Jackson. A fellow from Jackson wrote the Ohio State fight song that hundreds of thousands of alumni and fans sing 10, 15 times a year. And that's just incredible. The impact that people from this area have that we may not even know about.
Yeah. And it's that type of thing that brings interest to really an area that has been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about going back to the glaciers and everything. And I know you were in Cleveland here recently,
mm-hmm.
and the Indians are not going to be the Indians after
right.
this coming season.
Right.
I kind of wonder what would be wrong with calling them the Hopewells.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's fascinating. You mentioned the Native Americans, and that's what I'm really love about Chillicothe is there's something about, and I'm trying to figure out what this is, but there's something about Ross County that it's been a center of government, society, leadership for literally thousands of years. The Adena, the Hopewell chose this spot to build their ceremonial complexes and to have their large villages and stuff. And then it just so happens Chillicothe becomes the first state capital. And I think that's fascinating. And when you put that into perspective, in the time period when the Adena were building their mounds, Alexander the Great was getting ready to conquer Egypt. Like, it's that long ago. It's hard to put that into perspective with American history, of ancient American history, because we're so tuned into European or Eastern history. But this is old stuff. This has been a special place for literally thousands of years. And it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, most of what we know of is a little over 400 years old,
Right.
In some aspects as far as here on this continent, so to speak.
Right.
Being able to bring all this together, you have to visit with people. I know you talked about visiting with Pat Medderch and on the phone, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of other folks. Is there a way that people can help you to tell your story?
Absolutely. If anyone would like to reach out, we're available on Facebook, Our Town WOUB. Find that on Facebook, and you can send us a message there. You can also email us at ourtown@woub.org, and that will come to us as well. And that's really important because the last thing, I try to be very careful about this, I don't want anyone to think that here's this documentary filmmaker from Athens coming in to tell the story of Chillicothe. What does he know about Chillicothe? I don't know anything about Chillicothe, and I'll be the first one to admit that. I'm not from there. So for me to tell these stories, I really do rely on the local historians. And we include, some of these films have had more than 20 interviews with local people, and not even historians, because that's a word that gets kind of complicated sometimes. What is a historian? I want to talk to people. I want to talk to people who have seen things, that know things, and get the story of Chillicothe from the people of Chillicothe, and then I compile it and put it together. But this is not the Chillicothe by Evan. It's the Chillicothe story from the people of Chillicothe, and I'm just kind of the conduit to build it and bring it all together and tie it up.
Yeah.
So ourtown@woub.org. You can also find us on social media as well, Facebook and Twitter, and Instagram as well.
I talked with some of the folks who were with the First Capital Rotary, who you talked with here recently, and they were just surprised that they were hearing things about Chillicothe from you that they had never heard before.
Right. And I get that because it's hard to keep track of all these things. And I'm fortunate enough that I get to spend 8 hours a day reading history books about whatever town I'm working on. And there are so many things in each one of these little towns. Before we started recording, we were telling stories about lots of people who, the gentleman who fired the first shot of World War II was from Middleport. A fellow who raised the flag over the Tokyo embassy to end World War II is from Jackson. Those stories are everywhere. There was a Tuskegee airman from Gallipolis who flew over the battlefield armed with nothing but a rifle or a little pistol, but doing reconnaissance missions. Stories like that are everywhere in Southern Ohio. And so I don't pretend to know them all. There's no way I can. But my hope is that in 100 years, people can look back on this as just one more volume of history that they can get access to and get information from.
Well, you wouldn't receive 14 awards if you didn't do the right thing and
Thank you.
know your stuff. So we're very much looking forward to seeing the product that you put out for us.
Mhm.
I know one of your features was shown in a local theater. Will that be the plan for here in Chillicothe?
That is, what we usually try to do is we try to show these at local theaters. A lot of times we show them at high school gymnasiums, places where the community is used to gathering for community events. Gallipolis was supposed to be at Gallipolis Middle School.
Yeah.
However, 2 weeks before that, COVID showed up. So everything got put on hold and we ended up having to do a virtual premiere. This one with Chillicothe will premiere at the Majestic Theater, which I'm very excited about. However, it'll be fall. These usually come out in the spring, but with the situation right now, doing interviews, it's just not something we're able to do. So we're pushing it back just a little bit so that we can have that in-person screening, because those are so much fun. They're free. They're open to the public. Come as you are, jeans and a t-shirt. I don't even care if you have sleeves on. Just come learn about your town. And there's so much in there, and it's so fun to have that many people from the community. We did one in Morgan County 2 years ago. We had 500 people come. The one in Pomeroy, which I'm from Meigs County, we had over 1,200 people come. No, excuse me, that's wrong. 700 people, 1,200 in Athens. But to have that many people show up for something like this is really encouraging, because people are very proud to be from here. And when you give them a reason to come and celebrate their town, they show up. And it's been an incredible experience every time we've done it.
Has to be rewarding for you too, for all the hours that you'll put
Absolutely. Absolutely.
footage.
Yeah. You know what it's like. Yeah. And so we'll do 15 to 20 interviews. Each of those is an hour to 2 hours long, and logging all that footage and getting B-roll and historic photographs. And that's one other thing I wanted to mention, that if folks have, old pictures or home movies of life in Chillicothe, or your great grandfather's scrapbook with some pictures, even if you don't think they were someone important, it doesn't matter. We are looking for photographs, especially photographs and old films of the area, to include in the documentary. So if you have things like that you'd be interested in sharing with us and allowing us to use, please contact us, because we would love to take a look at them.
Again, your contact information?
Yep. You can email us at ourtown@woub.org. That's all one word, Ourtown. Or you can find us on Facebook at Ourtown WOUB. Same on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Well, I have been dubbed an ambassador for Chillicothe, and meeting with Jim Haslam in Cleveland when he first bought the Browns. So, he asked me, I want to put a pilot in. We're looking at Chillicothe. So I was, Mr. Haslam, nice to meet you.
Let
me tell you all about Chillicothe.
Nice. That's fantastic. Yeah, I was actually in Cleveland last night at the Browns game and had a chance to see him. I didn't speak to him or anything, but I worked for the NFL as well on the side as a cinematographer for NFL films. So yeah, I've done some work with him as well. Did you guys get the pilot yet?
Oh yeah, it's been here for a couple of years now.
Okay, fantastic. That's good.
And I received not a penny for it. So
of course not. That's the way it works.
My heart.
Right. For the betterment of the community.
You bet.
Right.
Evan Shaw, thank you so much for your time. And again, make sure that you open your doors for this fellow, because he's going to help tell the story, the place that we live and the place that we know and love.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. And again, follow us on social media. We'll be putting out trailers and sneak peeks and photographs and stuff. We're going to really ramp that up in the spring. And we look forward to getting to know everyone in Chillicothe.